Hello, this is Gabe Garbajal and Joanna. We're doing this for our final project for the anthropology of music. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Gabe. Hi, everyone. I'm Joanna Ormland, a drum and bass DJ in Richmond, Virginia.
So, the first question about music that I always wondered is what's the first thing, like, what got you into music? Like, what made you want to do this profession?
Well, as a child, I think early records. When I would get in trouble, I would get, or if I did something good, I would get rewarded with records. So that kind of became a big part of my life. Um, just music, anything with a beat, I always gravitated towards, like a lot of Madonna, a lot of early like Janet Jackson. So it was a lot of like dance music before dance music. So I was kind of always interested in things with beats and moving your body.
Can you share some like big impacts and moments that interest you in DJing? Especially like what made you pick DJing specifically?
I'm not sure that I really picked DJing. I feel like DJing kind of picked me more so. I was getting into music in the mid 90s. I stumbled on the rave scene up in Washington, D.C., and Scott Henry's Buzz Friday night. And as soon as I found that, it's just that feeling of you feel like you're at home, or you just kind of know you're where you should be. So it's like the light bulb goes off in your head, and you're just like, ah, this is it. Like I've been to a lot of concerts and I've done a lot of things with music, but nothing really grabbed me like being in a nightclub environment with the music and at the time like a lot of early wide leg fashions and just the scene as a whole, it just felt like home.
So technically, you don't have anybody who inspired you to go through this path, more of just like your feeling when you first listened to it and saw it.
Well, when I first got into it, it wasn't like it is now,
Mhm.
where it's, in every, shopping mall store, it's in every commercial. We're talking like, mid 90s, where it was more of like a hip hop vibe going on everywhere in the mainstream. There was a couple of people, there's only like even a couple of places as a DJ to even buy the vinyl records that we could play. And at the time I lived in Norfolk and you had to drive 3 hours just to get music in DC. So, yeah, a lot of the DC guys really inspired me early on. You just go to clubs and I would just watch the DJ and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's great. They get to stand up there and play like whatever they want and everybody's loving it. Like, I want to do that too. So I'd start like requesting like songs. And pretty soon people were just like, well, just stop requesting songs and just start playing. And so it kind of just started playing.
So over the years, just like you said, there's probably been a lot of fundamental changes about trends and obviously growth and gender and everything. What are some of the biggest changes you saw and faced over your years of doing this?
Hmm. I think some of the you see some of the trends in music is that I think a lot more inclusivity of female artists and not really just like doing like an all girl DJ party and let's just get everyone out, like it's more of including females on lineups with other males and, and trans people also, and just being a lot more inclusive.
So being your gender for your profession, has that had ever had a negative like reflect on your work? Has anybody ever spoken out about that specifically? Has anybody tried to bash you down and try to say no, this is a guy run
Well, not
profession?
to my face,
Okay.
probably, but I don't know, no, I think I have a little bit different situation. When I started playing, I also played with my husband who taught me how to play. His name is Jesse. And so we would play together a lot of stuff early on. So a lot of the stuff that my female counterparts and a lot of the misogyny that they might have had to deal with, and sometimes that I would see going on, I might not have had to experience myself per se. And now I've just been playing for 20 years, so my skills behind the turntable is just speak for themselves.
How did your FM radio experience and influence your approach to DJ and like your audience?
The radio, DJing on the radio is extremely different than DJing in a club. That's, there's people out there listening, but they're driving around in their cars or they're at their houses listening or, wherever that they listen. In a nightclub, well, on the radio, you feel yourself kind of, it's more about the song playing out and you're kind of like a medium in getting that out there. And you kind of want to let more of the song play as opposed to when you're in a nightclub, there's a crowd there, there's energy, there's people in your face, you feel more inclined to kind of get more songs into the rotation and kind of like keep the energy up.
So, what do you like better?
Oh, well, it's not really what I like better. They both have their really, I'm comfortable on the radio.
Okay.
And when we have guest DJs, I forget how comfortable I might be. And it kind of makes people nervous. I'm just used to playing. I feel like it's, playing on the radio is like playing at your house. It kind of feels that kind of way. You can kind of take risks and play some different songs that you might not play in a nightclub because you're at like a peak hour time slot or you're opening up before the headliner and you can't play any other tracks or things like that.
Do you think playing on a radio has widened your following base on just like people listening to you, and then from them listening to the radio, they're like, "Oh, I want to see this in person." Has that ever? Have you saw anything like that?
Have I think the radio is we've been doing Saturday Night Frequency, is our radio show, Turnstiles radio show for 18 years on Saturday night. So we have had people completely grow up with us on the radio. We used to have people come up to us at like events and, they were like, oh my God, I was in jail or something. And, like all I had to listen to was your radio show and it
Yeah.
saved my life. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. It really pushes drum and bass has been kind of like a smaller niche amongst the dance music umbrella. And I feel like being on the radio has really allowed mainstream people to kind of get in with that. Drum and bass doesn't have to be hard or something that you don't understand. It can be soft and jazzy and fun, and there's vocals, and it's something that people can identify with.
In your upbringing, like when you were little and even college age, what was the moment that you realized, oh, like this is different, or like what was your original taste in music before your change into DJing and all the things you do right now?
Like I listened to a lot of early Madonna, um, Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson. I was a child of the 80s. I'm not going to give my age away, but being my age, I have been fortunate enough to have had a analog childhood and a digital adulthood. So I've kind of straddled like both sides of, the medium. Just a lot of like kind of like early pop records was kind of where I got my start.
Can you discuss any your most memorable moment in performing, or anybody who's ever been on the radio give you a call that just touched you emotionally, or just like it got you that, oh my God, this is why I do what I do?
Wow. Gosh, there's so many of those. Anytime you get to play out in a club with your friends and it's just really special. It's just there's nothing like it. I think that's why you keep doing it. It's almost like a natural high that you just keep chasing. It's like you kind of have this like nervous energy before a gig and then you get out and you play and they're all really memorable and they're all really fun and it's all an experience that, makes you better for the next time. It makes the next time more memorable because you have that kind of under your belt.
So why Richmond? Like why this scene? Why come in this city? Like just
I went to college here. I came to go to VCU for fashion. And while I was at VCU, I decided that I would be ambitious and open a retail store. And so I was studying fashion and running my own record store and clothing boutique. And it was a good way to, get the music out here without having to go somewhere else to get it. There was no one that had the clothes that I wanted, any of the streetwear fashions that were kind of running aligned with the nightclub scene at the time. So I felt like, I could do that and I did for 13 years and it was on Broad Street and it was fun. And now it lives on online on turnstileonline.com.
Do you think your fashion and your music style are like quite the same?
Oh, absolutely. They go hand in hand for sure. Yeah.
Um, what's one of your biggest milestones you've hit and are planning to hit in the future?
Mm. Well, I would say that running a small clothing and record store in Broad Street in the age of Beatport in 2003, that was kind of dicey, but we did it and we did it successfully. And Broad Street went from being kind of a undesirable area to having valet parking when we closed the store in like 2016.
Um, what can you say confidently that you've influenced in your drum and bass community?
I hope that I have been able to help highlight some people, maybe some female talent that maybe gets overlooked at times. And I think that I can be a voice for that just with my own experience and help push more, female and, just include other people in general a little bit more forward.
In your further work, who would you love to work with, or where would you like to go other than Richmond to just spread your music and just spread you?
Yeah, all over the country. I don't know. I've gotten to play some New York shows and some Cali shows, and yeah, I'd like to just travel around a little bit and see what's going on other places and bring the very best vibes from what I find somewhere else back to Richmond, so we can do it up here.
With the constant growth of technology, how has that kind of maybe set you back or pushed you further in your scene right now?
Um, I I was a long time vinyl DJ up until about 2.5 years ago, and I switched over fully to CDJs, and I just feel like the technology is just so fast. It allows you to have, tracks at your fingertips. Somebody on another part of the world can send you a song, you download it, boom, it's in a mix, you're sharing it with the radio. It's just the technology just definitely sped things up. And with AI, I mean, like, that's just the possibilities are endless as to what that's going to do with the future.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that's
Yeah.
another question. With the growth of AI, is that a worry or is that like, oh, like this could help me out with my ideas and it could push me along? Like
I think
how?
it's amazing. I mean, if you can't do everything alone, you have to collaborate with people, and not everybody has 100% strength. So if there's areas that you're weak, I think that AI can really help everybody with that, so it can be on a level playing field. I think it's good.
So you're totally on board
I'm
with
totally on
AI.
board with it. Yeah, I mean, there's not, like I said, it definitely, I think, helps with helping people increase their weaknesses.
With the use of AI, do you think you would be prone to use it constantly or just something you would always just touch little bit here and there?
I guess that would be like, are you using a sync button or something as as a DJ? Just because something's there doesn't mean you have to use it. It's not for everyone. Different people utilize different things in different ways, and if something works for someone, then sure, why not? Why not utilize the things that we have available to us?
For the Richmond scene, what are the best performances and some of your favorite place to go around? Just like if you were talking to a not a native person, just tell them where to go and why.
Um, wow. I can talk about some exciting things we have coming up in the future. The new Ember Music Hall is really exciting, and they have some things that I think are going to allow Richmond to kind of get on a different scale, alongside like a DC kind of thing. That's kind of all I can say about that.
All right.
Yeah.
In the future, what would you wish to see out of your profession, like from the community and yourself?
I would love to see a solid weekend dance music night for Richmond, like straight up club night, not like a restaurant, playing music after dinner. Just straight up club night, go till 4 a.m., mocktails, cocktails, no dress code. Just we don't need bottle service. We're not Miami.
With the with the growth of drum and bass, has there ever been a thought in your head of, huh, like I kind of want to maybe do something else or try something else once I get to this point? Or have you always kind of consecutively just like, oh no, this is what I'm doing. I'm comfortable with it.
I don't know how to do anything else. So like, no, I love it. At this point, I've been doing it for 25 years, and so it has kind of, I guess, just become a part of me. Music is kind of like meditation. If I don't make a few mixes a week, I feel a little weird. I don't know. It's an instrument, so it's yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
you talk crazy.
yeah.
So I heard when you were talking about your clothing, you went to school for like designing clothing.
Fashion and
Okay.
merchandising.
Are you still into that, or do you still are you still having a company and doing that like as we speak right now?
The turnstile store, that was my baby. And then I had a baby. So I was like, okay, we'll just take this online. And it has kind of more evolved into like more of like a community aspect. I would like to in the future, I have an extensive like rave fashion archive at my house. So I'd like to do kind of like photography books and things kind of on the horizon. Maybe some kind of like fashion exhibits, kind of talk a little bit about like where we've come from and maybe I'd like to do a line in the future that's super ambitious, but not out of the question.
So you love to open something up yourself, and
I'm not sure I'd open a store again. That was a really cool thing for the time, and I enjoyed that. It was a great experience. The world is different now, so I think things live on more in like an e-commerce kind of environment.
okay.
Yeah.
So with the change in popularity of your music, have you seen a change in the people who listen to music, like in person? Like, have you seen the different, like just culturally different people coming to your events and everything?
Um, yeah, I'd say the rave scene has always been about diversity and being accepting of everyone. That's really what drove me to dance music in the first place, is that it was a place where all the people who didn't fit in had a place to go, and that kind of on the outside. So yeah, I think it continues to be inclusive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said, do you think you would like to ever come down to like specifically just a college and like play like at a university like Richmond? Like, would
Oh yeah.
you, yeah.
Yeah, I'll play anywhere. Like yeah, I just like to play. So yeah, I would do that.
And so with what excites you for future genres over just like people our age coming up? Like, what would you tell them, like advice and just how to handle everything, how to handle media, how to handle hate, how to handle love? Like, how would you yourself like portray
Um,
those words?
it's hard. And everyone is really affected. Maybe stay off social media if you can. Take social media breaks. Try not to take everything so personally and try to just keep going because sometimes some things don't work out, but you just have to keep going. Sometimes it's just not your time or it's just not the moment, but you just have to be true in what you're doing to go out in your scene and whatever that scene is and meet people and participate and don't just sit at home on a keyboard. Like be active in your community and get out and get to know people. And that's how you can really grow your own community.
How would you how, how would you kind of advise somebody to like not do what you just said, like not be in the keyboard, but it's so much of a internet and so much of a
It is now.
yeah.
It didn't used to be. So you used to have to go to a record store to find out about a party, or you'd have to go to a party to find out about
Mm.
another party. It wasn't at your fingertips. There was no cell phones. Like, I mean, I had pager. Like it's just crazy the amount technology has changed things and at the rapid pace. Um, yeah, you really it's important to get out there and put the information out, but it's also important to get your body in the door and
Okay.
to be physically present to see what's going on.
So how would you talk to somebody who's never experienced music at all? Like not even like in the slightest. Just like they've listened to the basic Just like say they're a country boy
Okay.
and they come to a city like Richmond.
Right.
They have no idea about your music. How would you introduce it? Would you push it all forward? Would you kind of ease it in?
I think I would probably find a good event first of all, because you don't want to take someone to an event and then the first impression, if something is off, it leaves a bad taste. To find a really good event that's going to be inclusive and the rave scene is just really inclusive. So people who listen to country, I mean, everyone's welcome. And you might, I don't know, it's just not, everybody likes to escape, and going out and clubbing doesn't really have a demographic or an age or a location. Everyone wants to go out and escape. There's always something to escape from, and we can all meet at the nightclub and do that.
What made you fall in love with music? Not just the music you do, just with music. Period. When was the first encounter? Who showed it to you? And like, what was just like, oh my God, like
I
this is
remember,
great.
I'm sure a ton of people have this early MTV. I was a child of early MTV, and just watching Michael Jackson's really long Thriller video consistently and over, and like mocking the dances and like the whole thing. Yeah, just like stuff on early MTV.
So with 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 you growing up with MTV and everything, um, how did how did you see that with you mocking it? How did you realize like how did you oh my God, this is great, like this is different, and then how did you categorize it in your head, like like specifically you and how you categorize it then and then now?
I was always like throughout high school, I would get involved in different genres and hang out with different people and kind of, you try on the dress and you kind of put yourself in there, and but nothing ever felt like it fit until I went to that first club in DC. It was the Capitol Ballroom. It would later be Nation, and went there, and I just knew. It's like a light bulb just goes off in your head. I don't really know how else to describe it. Just know.
How many festivals and venues do you think you play in like a year?
This past year, like 15, 16. I don't know. It's all on my website. I don't know. Could get back to you on that. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we have radio shows. We're coming up. We are number 988. So we're about to hit 1,000 next year on our Saturday weekly radio show. So it's like weekly radio, some club gigs. Yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah. I had in October. I almost got a little burnout. I had a run of quite a few. I played the art walk and then a warehouse party, and then I got in the car and went to DC and played the album up there, and then came home and then went to New York the next weekend. I mean, it was crazy. And
So
had the radio going. It's just, yeah, it was
So
nuts.
with constantly performing and constantly giving all your effort, because I'm sure it's emotional, because music is emotional
Absolutely.
at the highest. Uh, when you get burnt out or when you hit a block, what are your advice and what do you do to just reset, get away from everything, and like what's your main thing?
Just listen to something else, nothing at all. Meditate, stay off socials. There's a number of things, just in general, kind of try to decompress so that when you do come back to it, you're kind of excited about it, so you're not like getting super burnout. I think it was less burnout and more confusion over the tracks that I was playing, and like, did I already play this? Did I play this? Like it's just a lot, but it's really fun.
So, with taking this class, I've noticed a lot of people talk about, especially when they're in a specific field, that they tend to get burnt out from a lot of songs and end up like hating it. Have you ever grown a hatred toward a music because you listen to it constant, like a specific song or anything like that?
Not really, not with drum and bass. I could listen to it nonstop.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because in class, we always grow the topic of there's plenty of songs we listen to. Like, say you have a playlist, you always click it and it always plays the same songs in order. Like, a lot of people grow to start not liking the songs as it keeps getting played and played and played and played. So I just wanted to.
Actually, I don't because I make a lot of mixes. So every time I play, I record something. So, if I needed something for the radio or, whatever. So I'm constantly listening to stuff because it's like getting familiar with stuff and you hear sounds like on louder sound systems of songs that you might not hear at home. So it's like you kind of have to know like what's coming up and like so I find myself listening to a lot of repetitive stuff for sure.
So with all the growing festivals, I know COVID was just recent and happened and everything, but what are some of your finest moment of going to a festival? Just you, not as an artist, just
Hmm.
person attending it. And then also, what are some of your best moments going to festivals and performing?
Well, I just got back from Italy in September. They have a Sun and Bass Festival, which is the who's who of the drum and bass, the liquid style that I play. It was everybody that was making all the records, the singers on the records. They were on the beach next to you singing. My favorite artist is eating pizza at the next table. I mean, just, it was absolute insanity. And a lot of the artists are there with their families hanging out. It was just a really magical time in the Mediterranean. And it was just like three parties a day. I like to call it the Olympics of raving. It was just back to back, and you didn't want to miss anything for it was like 8 days because it was everyone you could ever imagine seeing. And there's a lot of artists for drum and bass that don't come to the States. It's so big over in the UK. It's kind of like why bother a little bit, like comparatively it's so compact over there that you just hop a train and it's just so different over there. We have a long way to go in US drum and bass.
So I have a team that's from Australia, and when I first started talking about this project and talking about all this, he always would say EDM is a huge thing over there, and he doesn't know why it hasn't translated to the US or anything. But that kind of cleared a lot of it up,
Yeah.
and he always talks to me. He's like, I don't know why it's such a foreign thing
Yeah.
for Americans, like I don't like he said he would always say like I never knew why. Do you know why? Do you have an
I have some
idea?
good ideas. Absolutely. We had a whole system here, that a music system where you had payola on the radio. Where did you ever listen to a song on the radio a long time ago and you're like, God, this song is terrible. Like, who likes the song? And you just kept hearing it, kept hearing it, kept hearing it. Well, some DJ and some radio station just got a trip, some free trip somewhere because they keep playing this crazy Britney Spears song that you're like, why is everybody listening to this? Not to, upset with Britney. I like Britney. Anyway, just an example, but I just think our music system, there's only so many people at the top and they're getting paid and they employ so many people, it doesn't behoove them to put it out first. They'd rather just take from it, and try to like prop up their artist as opposed to seeing the underground for what it's worth.
So with that being said, do you ever notice yourself listening to more of that foreign music, like not American made, like not from like our scene of music, like like have you ever noticed yourself listening to like say UK music or Australian people made music more than American made?
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. Most of the stuff that I'm playing is from the UK.
So with your work, you tend to work with more artists that are from the UK and from the other side?
Well, what I find interesting is even like as far as like 10 years ago, artists here would produce drum and bass tracks and send them to labels in the UK. They would, you know, then it would become an import. So if you go to order the vinyl, you'd have to have it shipped
Okay.
back at the import prices, even though it was made here. Like, with house and techno and stuff, a lot of it was coming out of like Chicago and New York, and it was more of a domestically kind of grown situation.
So saying that, do you think it's easier now since a lot of it's more digitally, and so you just send it back through like an email or anything, or
Yeah, no, I think, definitely like the digital has opened that up. I was more speaking of like, the vinyl for me
okay.
having a record store
Mhm.
and how it was kind of, appalling that, it'd be made here, sent there, taxed, sent back, it just seemed a little silly. But with digital stuff, I think that the hard thing with digital is there's so much of it because it does open it up to so many people that you really have to know, artists or labels or kind of have there's a lot out there to wade through. It can be very overwhelming. You just kind of have to maybe like make a list of artists, make a list of labels, and that you like, and kind of like go out when you're searching for tracks and kind of look for those things first. And then if you have time to kind of go up and widely open yourself up to other stuff, there's a lot out there.
So how do you think that's dealt with like the Richmond scene and like just like trying to get like that different type of music here instead of just like the community like your community's traveling here?
Yeah.
How do you think we can just be original and have it here and spread out other than people coming in?
I feel like, it's been an uphill battle with Virginia in general with like the cabaret laws and a lot of the holdover laws that they like to enforce here when it's convenient for certain people. Like the amount of food to alcohol that you have to have in an establishment. If you notice, we don't have straight bars. There's no straight nightclubs in the entire state of Virginia. The entire state of Virginia is restaurants that have music after
That turn
dinner.
into so
Right.
I always noticed that. So in
That's everywhere.
I'm
It's
20
Bono,
yeah I'm 20
Fairfax.
minutes outside of New Orleans. I know we're talking about Richmond scene, but do you think if like you could have a chance to play somewhere that specifically just focuses on your craft, your music, do you think you would all go there preferably or
As opposed to Richmond.
Mhm.
Actually, in the last few years, I've kind of just found myself going up to DC. We haven't really had, we have spaces that are like, hey, you can come do a night over here. You got to wait till everybody's done eating dinner, and then you can come and bring up all the equipment that you set up because we're not going to provide that for you. Yeah, you can put all the promotions, and then you can get the door from whoever shows up. But when you bring your people here and they drink at our bar, we're going to get all that. We're not going to put it back into your night to have you build. So we've kind of been missing that. We haven't had any establishments up until very recently um, where it's a plug and play kind of situation. Like when I go up and I play in DC, there are clubs that are outfitted. There's not a snack in sight. Like you eat before you get there. If you want to drink, it's dance floor oriented. You are there to dance. That's all you're there to do. And we need a lot more of that. That's what we need here. I mean, it's not just Richmond, it's all over the state. But things are starting to change. We've got a couple of venues here that have some high end DJ gear where, you can just bring your headphones and some thumb drives. So that, alleviates a little bit of the stress that we've been dealing with here.
This past week I had to go to a venue, so did my classmates. And when I first walked to the venue, like I was thinking of like back home in Louisiana. When I walk into a music venue, it's an open floor. Everything's catered to directly towards the artist or whoever performing that
Right.
night. But when I went to the Tin Pan, uh, I walked in and I just saw a lot of tables, a
It's
lot
no
of
different.
food,
No different than a
waiters still
restaurant.
walking around, and it shocked me. It's just like I felt a little for y'all because I was like it just my mindset of oh, it's going to be like back home. I'm just going to walk in and it's going to be people standing with a drink, waiting for the performers to come up, or they're dancing already from the performers.
Right.
And I just, I
It's
just,
been an uphill battle here for so many years. And I really, I love Richmond and I made a record store here. I'm on the radio here and I'm still here. I could go anywhere else, but I just feel like Richmond needs its moment in the sun. And I think maybe in the next few years, we might have a little bit of that.
so the last question I want to ask you is what's your favorite memory of playing in Richmond and being in Richmond?
Wow. There's, um, just having Turnstile, the record store, and like for our first year anniversary, we shut down Broad Street. This is before a food festival. This is like it was Turnstile and like 5 galleries. The art walk was like just formed, and we had a good friend Brian Zentz who was touring all over the world from Norfolk, and we had him come and sit up in the middle of Broad Street, and we had live techno, and we just kind of blew it out. That's kind of how we started doing the art walk, and that's probably one of my fondest memories, just shutting down Broad Street and just, putting the music in the street and just being like, we're here, like this is what we're doing. This is, Richmond's a dance music city. Let's go. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad I got to talk to you today. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having me.
Yeah,
Yay.
thank you.
Anybody needs any info, turnstileonline.com. Frequency every Saturday night on WRIR 97.3 LPFM. Richmond Indie Radio and simulcast at WRIR.org.
Hit her up. She's amazing.